The Imperial archives were carved into the base of a mountain that glowed with its own light. Pyros led Daewon through the entrance, his massive form barely fitting through corridors designed for dragons. The young dragon moved with grace despite his size, his red and gold scales catching the light. The lower archives contain 3 million years of history, Pyros said. His voice was smoother than Velkareth's, almost pleasant. Most of it is sealed. Most of it is encoded. You have 30 days to search through records that would take a mortal lifetime to read. This task is impossible. Probably, Daewon agreed. He carried only a small data pad and a backpack with basic supplies. But impossible just means nobody's done it yet. Pyros made a sound like wind through stones. It might have been laughter. You are either very brave or very foolish. I have not decided which. Can't I be both? The dragon actually smiled at that. Perhaps. Come, I will show you what you have access to. The lower archives were massive. Rows of crystal storage units stretched in every direction, each one containing more information than the entire human internet. Holographic displays floated in the air, showing maps and indexes and catalogs. The air hummed with energy. You may access anything in the public records, Pyros said. You may not access anything sealed with Imperial marks. You may not remove or copy sensitive information. I will be watching. Always. Understood. Daewon walked to the nearest terminal and activated it. Text appeared in standard galactic language. He began searching. Pyros settled onto a raised platform designed for dragons to rest. He could watch Daewon from there. What are you looking for, human? Answers. To what question? Daewon paused his search and looked up at the massive dragon. Why does your queen hate mortals so much? It's not just contempt, it's not just viewing us as lesser. It's deeper than that. It's personal. Pyros was quiet for a moment. We are eternal. You are not. We are powerful. You are weak. Is that not reason enough? No, because hate requires caring. Real hate means something matters enough to hurt you. Your queen doesn't just dismiss mortals. She actively hates them. That means we remind her of something painful. The dragon's eyes narrowed. You presume much, I observed, Daewon corrected. It's what I do. I study cultures, languages, histories. And right now I'm studying yours. He turned back to his search. Hours passed, then days. Daewon slept in short bursts in a corner of the archives. He ate ration bars without tasting them. He searched through records of wars, treaties, scientific discoveries, and cultural developments. The Dragon Imperium's history was vast and detailed, but something was missing. Kyungmi arrived on the third day. She was an engineer from the delegation, small and quiet with clever eyes. She brought better food and a portable sleep mat. Jinho sent me to help, she said. He figures you need someone who understands data systems. He's not wrong. Daewon showed her what he'd found. Look at this. The Dragon Imperium has perfect records going back 700,000 years. Before that, the records exist, but they're fragmented. And before 2 million years ago, there's almost nothing. Just gaps. Kyungmi studied the display. Data degradation? No, these storage systems don't degrade. The gaps are deliberate. Someone removed information. A lot of it. What kind of information? That's what I need to find out. Pyros watched them work with growing interest. On the 5th day, he asked, What do you hope to accomplish, humans? Even if you find missing records, what will that prove? Daewon didn't look up from his work. Your people weren't always dragons. The records mention the Velka, the species you were before, but there's almost nothing about them. No cultural records. No personal histories. No art or music or literature. Why? The past is irrelevant, Pyros said. We ascended beyond such things, and did you? Or did you erase them? The dragon's flames flickered. You should be careful what you search for, human. Some knowledge is forbidden for good reason. But Daewon had already found something interesting, a reference in an old star chart dated nearly 2 million years ago. It mentioned a vault system, sealed and hidden. The coordinates were corrupted, but Kyungmi could reconstruct them. It's here, she said, pointing to a section of the archives marked as maintenance tunnels. Underground. Probably sealed. Can you open it? Kyungmi smiled slightly. I can open most things. They went at night when fewer dragons were in the archives. Pyros followed, of course. He didn't try to stop them, which Daewon found interesting. The tunnel was old. The lights flickered and buzzed. They descended deep into the mountain, following Kyungmi's reconstructed map. Finally, they reached a door. It was sealed with technology that predated the Dragon Imperium, This is Velka technology, Kyungmi whispered, running her scanner over the lock. From before the ascension, can you open it? Give me an hour. Pyros landed behind them, his massive form filling the tunnel. This is a sealed vault. I should stop you, but you won't, Daewon said. It wasn't a question. The dragon was quiet. Then, I am 500 years old. Young by our standards. I have never seen these records. I have never questioned their absence. But now you make me wonder, what did we choose to forget? Then help us remember, Daewon said. Kyungmi worked carefully, bypassing ancient security systems. Finally, with a sound like breaking ice, the door opened. Inside was a small room. No vast database. No massive archive. Just a room with physical objects. Books made of crystal that showed moving images when touched. Sculptures, paintings, personal items from a civilization long dead. Daewon picked up one of the crystal books. When he touched it, images flowed into his mind. A Velka family. They looked almost like dragons, but smaller, softer. They had faces that showed emotion. In the image, they were celebrating something. A child's naming day, maybe. They looked happy. These are personal records, Kyungmi said softly, looking at another crystal. Letters, journals, family histories. Daewon moved through the room, touching crystal after crystal. He saw the Velka at work, at play, in love, in grief. They were people, real people with real lives. And then he found something that made him stop breathing. It was a journal. The crystal was darker than the others, heavier. When he touched it, he felt overwhelming sadness. The journal belonged to someone named Keth Ara. She was a scholar, a historian, and she was writing about a choice she had to make. The ascension was coming. The Velka had discovered how to become eternal, to transform into beings of pure energy. Most of her people had already chosen to transform. But Kethara's partner refused. Her child refused. They wanted to remain mortal, to live and die naturally. Kethara wrote about her fear. If she remained mortal, she would die and leave her people without a historian. Their story would be lost. But if she ascended, she would lose her family. They would age and die while she remained forever. The final entry was devastating in its simplicity. I choose to remember. I will become eternal, so our story will never be forgotten, even if it costs me everything I love. Daewon looked up at Pyros. Keth Ara. That name means something, doesn't it? The dragon's flames had dimmed. He stared at the journal in Daewon's hands. That name is forbidden. Why? Because it was the queen's name. Before she ascended. Before she became Velkareth. The pieces clicked together in Daewon's mind. She chose to become eternal to preserve your history. But the transformation changed her. Over centuries, she forgot why she made that choice. She forgot her family. And eventually, she forgot how to feel anything at all. Kyungmi was reading another crystal, her face pale. According to this, the ascension process eliminates the ability to grow and change. Dragons can learn, but they can't truly evolve. They're frozen in whatever state they were in when they transformed. Eternal, Daewon said quietly. But empty, just like the star in the children's story. Pyros moved closer, looking at the journals and artifacts. For the first time since they'd met, the dragon looked uncertain. I have never seen these. None of us have. This history has been hidden from us. Not hidden, Daewon said. Forgotten. Your queen buried these records because they hurt too much to remember. She became eternal to save your history, but ended up erasing the very thing she tried to preserve, your humanity, or your Velkaness, whatever you want to call it. And now she hates mortals, Kyungmi added, understanding dawning in her eyes, because they remind her of what she lost. They live and love and die, just like her family did, just like she could have if she'd made a different choice. Pyros sat down heavily, his massive form suddenly seeming smaller. What do we do with this knowledge? Daewon carefully gathered several of the most important crystals. We show it to her. She will destroy you for this, Pyros warned. These are her most painful memories. She sealed them away for a reason. Maybe, Daewon agreed. But you asked what I hope to accomplish. This is it. I want to show her that forgetting doesn't make the pain go away. It just makes you empty. And I want to prove that mortals matter. Because we carry our memories with us. We refuse to forget even when it hurts. This is madness, Pyros said. But there was something new in his voice. Hope, maybe. Or curiosity. Probably, Daewon said. He looked at his friend. Kyungmi, can you copy these records? She nodded. Already done. Backed up in 3 separate locations. Good. Then let's go tell an immortal dragon queen something she doesn't want to hear. Pyros looked at the two small humans, standing in a hidden vault filled with forbidden history. You truly are either very brave or very foolish. Like I said, Daewon smiled slightly, though his hands were shaking. Probably both. Word of Daewon's discovery spread through the dragon court faster than light. By the time he returned to the archive's main hall, 12 dragons were waiting. They circled above, their massive forms blocking out the ceiling. Their eyes glowed with anger. The human has accessed forbidden vaults, one of them declared, his voice like thunder. This is a violation of the Queen's law. The penalty is death. Pyro stepped between Daewon and the others. The Queen gave him permission to search the archives. She set no limits. The seals on that vault were placed by Velkareth herself, another dragon said. She was ancient, her scales white as bone. No one is permitted to see what lies within. Not even us. Especially not you, Daewon said quietly. All the dragons turned to look at him. He felt like an insect under their gaze, but he didn't back down. She hid those memories from herself. She definitely didn't want you to find them. Then you admit you have broken her law, the first dragon said. No, I admit I found something she lost. That's not the same thing. The white dragon descended, landing so close that Daewon could feel the heat radiating from her body. You play games with words, mortal. But words will not save you. Give us what you found, and perhaps we will grant you a quick death. Why do you want it? Daewon asked. You don't even know what it is. It is forbidden. That is enough, is it? Daewon looked at each of the dragons in turn. Do you ever wonder why certain things are forbidden? Do you ever question the rules you follow? We do not question our queen, the white dragon said. But there was something in her voice, a hesitation. Because you can't, Daewon said. That's what the Ascension did to you. You were frozen in your loyalty, your obedience, your purpose. You can't change. You can't grow. You can only be what you were at the moment of your transformation. That is our strength, the first dragon said. Is it? Or is it your prison? The tension in the room was suffocating. Kyungmi stood next to Daewon, her hand hovering near her emergency beacon. Hana had arrived with Jinho and several other delegates. They all looked ready to run, though there was nowhere to go. Then Pyros did something unexpected. He opened his claws and projected a hologram. It was one of the images from Kethara's journal. A Velka family celebrating together. This is what he found, Pyros said. Personal records from before the Ascension. Our history. Our real history. The other dragons went silent. They stared at the image with expressions Daewon couldn't read. Where did you get that? The white dragon whispered. From a sealed vault. From journals written by someone named Kethara. She was a historian who chose to ascend so she could preserve our people's story. But in ascending, she lost the very thing she was trying to save. Her ability to feel, to connect, to remember why any of it mattered. Kethara. The white dragon spoke the name like a prayer. That name is forbidden. I know, Pyro said. It was our queen's name before she became Velkareth. The revelation hung in the air. Several of the dragons shifted uncomfortably. One of them actually flew away, unable or unwilling to process what he'd heard. The white dragon looked at Daewon with new eyes. You found the queen's personal journals? Her memories from before? Yes, and you think to show them to her? To force her to remember what she chose to forget? I think she needs to remember, Daewon said. Not because I want to hurt her, but because forgetting hasn't made her happy. It's made her empty. She hates mortals because we remind her of what she lost. But maybe if she remembers, she can understand why we matter. This will destroy her, the white dragon said. Or she will destroy you. Maybe both, Daewon admitted. But I have 7 days left. 7 days to prove that mortal life has meaning. And I can't think of a better way to do that than showing her this. Showing her that we carry our memories, our pain, our love. That we refuse to forget even when forgetting would be easier. Jinho stepped forward. If this goes wrong, the entire delegation dies. You understand that? I do. And you still want to do this? Daewon looked at the hologram Pyros was projecting. The Velka family looked so happy. So alive. I have to. Because if I don't, then what's the point? We came here asking for passage through her realm. But really we're asking for her to see us. To recognize that our lives matter. And the only way to do that is to show her why life matters at all. Jinho was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. All right. We came here together. We'll see this through together. The white dragon studied them. You mortals are strange. You rush toward death like it means nothing. No, Hana said. We rush toward death because it means everything. We only get a short time. We have to make it count. The dragon made a sound that might have been respect. Very well. I will not stop you, but I will not help you either. This is between you and the queen. The other dragons began to leave one by one. Only Pyros remained. I will request an audience, he said. But the queen may refuse. She may simply order your execution. Then we'll deal with that when it happens, Day One said. The next 3 days were the longest of Day One's life. He spent them preparing. He went through every journal, every image, every piece of evidence from the vault. He built a presentation, a story that would show Velkareth who she had been before she forgot. Kyungmi helped him organize the data. Hana helped him practice his presentation. Jinho worked with the rest of the delegation to prepare for every possible outcome, including their deaths. On the morning of the 7th day, word came. The queen would see them. The throne room was different this time. Fewer dragons watched from the platforms. The ones who remained looked tense, uncertain. They knew something was happening, even if they didn't know what. Velkareth sat on her throne of starlight, as massive and terrible as before. Her violet flames burned bright. Her eyes could have melted steel. You requested this audience, she said. Her voice filled the entire space. You have 1 hour remaining of the 30 days I granted you. Have you found proof that mortal existence has value? I have, Day One said. His voice was steady, though his heart was racing. Then present it. Amuse me one final time before I erase your species from my realm. Day One walked forward. He carried a small projector. When he activated it, images filled the air around the throne. Images of the Velka, of their lives, their culture, their history. These are your people, he said. Before the Ascension, they were mortal like us. They lived and loved and built civilizations. They created art and music and poetry. They raised children and mourned their dead. They were alive. I know my people's history, Velkareth said. But her eyes were fixed on the images, do you? Because I found these in a sealed vault. Hidden away, forgotten. Day One changed the image. Now it showed a particular Velka. A female with kind eyes and careful hands. This is Kethara, a historian, a scholar. She was one of the last to undergo ascension. Enough. The word was sharp. The temperature in the room spiked. She had a family, Day One continued. A partner named Saral, a child named Vethko. They refused the ascension. They wanted to remain mortal. But Kethara was afraid that if all the historians ascended, no one would remember your people's story. So she made a choice. I said enough! Velkareth rose from her throne. The entire room shook. She chose to become eternal so she could preserve your history. But the ascension changed her. Over centuries, she began to forget. First the small things, the sound of her child's laughter, the warmth of her partner's touch. Then bigger things, their faces, their names, what it felt like to love them. The images changed again. Now they showed journal entries. Kethara's own words describing her slow transformation from a living being into something eternal, but empty. Eventually she forgot everything, Day One said. She forgot why she had ascended in the first place. She forgot what it meant to be mortal. And in forgetting, she began to hate mortals, because they reminded her of something missing. Something important. Something that hurt to remember. Stop. Velkareth's flames exploded outward. Several dragons backed away. The human delegation braced for death. But Day One kept talking. Your true name is Kethara. You were mortal once. You loved once. And you have spent 3,000 years trying to forget the pain of that love. The silence that followed was absolute. Then Velkareth moved. She descended from her throne, growing smaller as she did. She crossed the vast space in seconds, stopping directly in front of Day One. She was still enormous, still terrifying, but she had shrunk herself to something closer to a personal scale. How dare you, she whispered. Her voice could have shattered mountains. How dare you bring me this pain? Because you asked me to prove that mortal life has value, Day One said. He was shaking now, but he met her eyes. And the only way to do that is to show you what mortality means. It means carrying our memories even when they hurt. It means loving people who will die. It means choosing connection over comfort. You did that once. You were brave enough to love something temporary. That's what mortals do, every single day. I cannot, Velkareth said. Her voice broke. I cannot remember. It will destroy me. Maybe. Day-Wan said gently. But forgetting has destroyed you already. You're not eternal. You're frozen. You're trapped in the moment you stopped feeling. And that's not life. That's just existence. For the first time in 3,000 years, Velkareth's perfect control slipped. Her flames flickered. Her form wavered, and from her eyes, drops of liquid light began to fall. She was crying. The tears fell like stars. Each drop of liquid light hit the crystal floor and shattered into rainbow fragments. The dragons watching from the platforms went completely still. None of them had ever seen their queen cry. Most of them had never seen any dragon cry. Velkareth made a sound that was part roar, part sob. The throne room shook. Cracks appeared in the crystal walls, but she didn't attack. She didn't destroy. She just stood there, massive and terrible and broken, as thousands of years of buried grief finally escaped. Day-Wan stood his ground, though every instinct screamed at him to run. Behind him, the other humans were frozen in shock and fear. I remember, Velkareth whispered. Her voice was raw, stripped of its usual power. I remember his face, Seral. He had a scar above his left eye, from when he fell as a child. I remember. More tears fell. The rainbow shards on the floor multiplied. I remember her laugh. Vethko, my daughter, she would laugh at everything. The way light moved through water. The sound of rain. Small, beautiful things. I remember Velkareth's form was changing. The flames around her dimmed. Her crystalline body became more solid, more real, more vulnerable. I remember the last day, before the ascension. Cyril held my hand. He asked me not to go. He said he would rather have a short life with me than a long life without me. And I told him I had to. I told him our people's story mattered more than one family's happiness. She looked down at Day-Wan, and for the first time he saw her clearly. Not as a monster, not as a god, just as someone who made an impossible choice and spent 3,000 years regretting it. I told myself I would visit them, she continued. After the ascension, I would watch over them, protect them. But the transformation changed me. Time moved differently. A year felt like a day. 10 years like a week. I meant to visit. I always meant to visit. But you didn't, Day-Wan said gently. No. By the time I thought to check on them, a century had passed. They were gone, dust. Not even their graves remained. I had spent 100 years learning to use my new powers, and I missed their entire lives. The white dragon who had confronted Day-Wan in the archives descended from her platform. She landed near the queen, her ancient form moving with careful grace. My queen, we did not know. You never told us. How could I tell you? Velkareth turned to look at her. You all made the same choice I did. You all transformed to save our civilization. If I admitted that the cost was too high, that would mean all of you paid too much as well. So I buried the pain. I sealed away the memories. And I told myself that mortal beings were worthless because if they had worth, then I had made the wrong choice. Pyros flew down to join them. The young dragon's voice was quiet. That is why you hate them. Not because they are beneath us, but because they remind you of what we gave up. Yes. Velkareth looked at the images still floating in the air. Her family, her former self, her forgotten life. Every mortal I see is a reminder. They live so briefly, but they feel everything. They love knowing they will lose. They build knowing everything will fall, and I hate them for having the courage I lost. Jinho stepped forward carefully. Your Majesty, if I may speak? Velkareth looked at him. Her eyes were still leaking light, but she nodded. You made your choice to save your people's history, to be a keeper of memories, but you forgot the most important memory of all. You forgot that history isn't just about facts and dates and great events. It's about people, about love and loss and small moments that matter. I know that now, Velkareth said. This human has shown me. He has given me back my pain. She looked at Day-Wan again. You asked me to prove that mortal existence has value. But you have proven something else. You have proven that memory has value, that even painful memories are better than emptiness. Then you understand, Day-Wan said. That's what mortals do. We carry our dead with us. We remember our mistakes and our triumphs. We grow and change because we refuse to forget. That's our value. Not our technology or our strength. Our memory, our willingness to feel. Velkareth was quiet for a long time. The room waited. Finally she spoke. I cannot grant you passage through my realm. Day-Wan's heart sank. Jinho closed his eyes. Several of the other humans grabbed each other's hands. preparing for the end. I cannot grant you passage, Velkareth repeated, because I am no longer fit to rule. Every dragon in the room reacted at once. Gasps, roars, confused cries. The white dragon stepped forward. My queen, what are you saying? I am saying that I have been a hollow shell pretending to be a ruler. I have led you for 3,000 years, but I have not truly lived for any of them. I have been frozen, trapped, empty. And I cannot continue like this. She turned to address all the dragons watching. Her voice grew stronger, more certain. I will enter remembrance. I will spend the next decades recovering and processing everything I buried. I will learn to feel again, even if it destroys me. In my absence, you will form a council of succession. You will learn to rule yourselves, to make decisions, to grow and change as I could not. But who will lead us? One of the watching dragons called out. You will lead yourselves. Each of you will remember your own true names. Each of you will recover your own buried memories. And together, you will decide what the Dragon Imperium should become. Not frozen, not eternal, but alive. She looked at Pyros. You saw the hidden vault. You looked at our past without flinching. You will be part of this new council. Pyros bowed his head. I am honored, my queen, but I am young, inexperienced. Yes, which is why you can still change. Use that gift well. Velkareth turned back to Daewon. You asked for passage through my realm. I will give you more than that. I will offer humanity a covenant. You will become the keepers of memory for the Dragon Imperium. Your historians will work with ours to recover what we lost. You will help us remember how to be people, not just powers. In exchange, you will have access to 3 million years of knowledge and technology. Jinho's eyes widened. Your Majesty, that is far more than we asked for. It is what you deserve. You sent a single mortal to face an immortal queen, armed with nothing but understanding and empathy. You reminded us of what we forgot. That is worth more than any technology. She looked at Daewon one more time. When she spoke, her voice was soft, almost vulnerable. Will you help us remember? Daewon felt tears in his own eyes now. Yes, we will help you remember. Velkareth nodded slowly. Then she did something no one expected. She changed her form. The massive crystalline dragon shrank, compressed, reformed. When the light cleared, a Velka stood before them. She looked like the images from her journals, smaller, softer, more real. This is who I was, she said, before I forgot. I do not know if I can be her again, but I will try. The white dragon approached and bowed deeply. We will all try, Kethara. We will all remember. The name rippled through the room. Other dragons began to speak, tentatively at first, then with growing confidence. They spoke their true names. The names they had carried before ascension. Names that had been forbidden for millions of years. Hana grabbed Daewon's arm, her eyes wide. Do you understand what you just did? You changed an empire that has existed for 3 million years. No, Daewon said, watching the dragons reclaim their identities. They changed themselves. I just reminded them that they could. Velkareth, still in her Velka form, approached him one last time. Before I enter remembrance, I must know. How did you understand? How did you see what we had lost? Daewon thought about his answer carefully. Because humans know loss. We lose people all the time. Parents, friends, lovers. We could choose to forget them, to avoid the pain. But we don't. We carry them with us. We tell their stories. We keep their memories alive. That's what makes us human. And that is why you matter, Velkareth said. Not despite your mortality, but because of it. You understand that every moment is precious because it ends. Every connection matters because it can be lost. You live in a way we forgot how to. She reached out with a small, very mortal hand. Daewon took it. Thank you, she said, for giving me back my pain. For reminding me why it matters. I do not know if I will ever truly be Kethara again. But I know now that trying is better than forgetting. What will you do? Daewon asked. During your remembrance? I will visit their graves if I can find them. Cyril and Vethko. I will mourn properly, and then I will try to understand what it means to live again, not just exist. She looked at all the humans standing together, small and fragile and impossibly brave. Your species is young. Your lives are brief, but you have taught an immortal something she needed to learn. That is no small thing. She released his hand and stepped back. Her form began to glow. The council will finalize the details of our covenant. But know this, humanity will always have a place in the Dragon Imperium. Not as servants, not as vassals, but as teachers, as friends, as the ones who helped us remember how to feel. The light around her intensified. I go now to remember, to grieve, to heal. When I return, if I return, I hope to meet you again, Daewon. I hope to learn more about what it means to carry memory with courage. I hope so too, Daewon said. The light became blinding. When it faded, Velkareth was gone. In her place, a message hung in the air written in light. Even the oldest star was once young. 50 years passed like a breath in an eternity. Daewon was old now. His hair had gone white and his hands shook slightly when he held things. But his mind was still sharp and his eyes still held the same curiosity they always had. He stood in the Imperial archives, not in the lower levels anymore, but in the highest chambers where the oldest and most precious records were kept. Around him, humans and dragons worked together. Young historians from Earth compared notes with ancient dragons who were slowly learning to be teachers instead of rulers. The sound of their discussions filled the space with life. Director Daewon, a young human woman approached carrying a data tablet. Her name was Bora, and she was one of the brightest students in the Memory Project. We finished cataloging the cultural records from the Third Age. There are personal journals from over 50,000 Velka families. Good, Daewon said. Make sure they're accessible to the public archives. No more sealed vaults. No more forgotten histories, of course. Bora hesitated. Sir, there's a message for you. It arrived this morning. She handed him the tablet. On it, a single line glowed in Old Draconic. I remember. Daewon smiled. It was the same message he received once a year, every year, for the past 50 years. Velkareth, in her remembrance, sending confirmation that she was still there, still processing, still alive. Is that from her? Bora asked quietly. Yes. Do you think she'll ever come back? Daewon looked out the window at the Dragon Throne world. It had changed so much. The rigid, controlled streets had been replaced with more organic layouts. Buildings now showed individual expression. Gardens grew where there had once been only perfect crystal. The dragons themselves moved differently, less like a military formation and more like people going about their lives. I don't know, he admitted, but I hope so. The world she returns to will be very different from the one she left. Footsteps echoed through the archive. Daewon turned to see Hana approaching. She was old too, her hair silver and her face lined with years, but she still moved like a pilot, precise and confident. There you are, she said. The council is ready for the ceremony. You're going to be late to your own retirement party. I'm not retiring. I'm stepping back. There's a difference, I call it what you want. You've earned rest. They walked together through the archives. 50 years ago, humans had been visitors here, tolerated at best. Now they were partners, colleagues, friends. The ceremony was held in the throne room, though it didn't look like a throne room anymore. The massive empty space had been transformed into a gathering hall. Dragons and humans mingled freely. There was food, music, laughter, things that would have been impossible when Daewon first arrived. The Council of Succession had grown and evolved. Pyros was there, older now at 550 years, but still young by dragon standards. He had become one of the strongest voices for change and cooperation. The White Dragon, who had revealed her true name as Sarheth, served as the council's elder advisor. They called the ceremony to order. Pyros spoke first. 50 years ago, a human came to our world and changed everything. He wasn't a warrior. He wasn't a conqueror. He was a scholar who asked questions and listened to answers. He showed us what we had forgotten, and in doing so, he helped us become something new. Sarheth continued. The Imperial Memory Project has recovered over 3 million years of lost history. We know our true names now. We remember our families, our culture, our humanity, and we owe this awakening to the small mortals who had the courage to care about immortals. She gestured to Daewon. Director Daewon, you have served as the head of the Memory Project since its inception. You have trained hundreds of historians. You have overseen the recovery of billions of personal records. You have, quite literally, helped us remember how to be people. I had help, Daewon said. Thousands of people, human and dragon, did this work. I just pointed them in the right direction. You did more than that, Pyros said. You showed us that mortality has value. That memory matters. That even painful truths are better than comfortable lies. These lessons have transformed our entire civilization. He held up a crystal plaque. The council wishes to grant you the title of Memory Keeper, the highest honor in dragon culture. You will be the first non-dragon to receive it. And when your time comes, your name and your story will be preserved in our most sacred archives, so that future generations never forget what you taught us." The room erupted in applause, both human and dragon. Day One accepted the plaque with shaking hands. It was warm to the touch, and images moved within the crystal. Images of the past 50 years, of humans and dragons working together, of a civilization learning to feel again. "I don't deserve this," he said quietly. "You deserve it more than anyone," Sarheth replied. "You gave us back our past. You helped us build a better future." After the ceremony, Day One found a quiet corner. He was tired. The kind of tired that came from years of work, not just hours. A good tired Kyungmi found him there. She was old too, though she had spent most of the past 50 years traveling between worlds, setting up new archive facilities and training centers. "Remember when we broke into that sealed vault?" she asked, sitting next to him. "Hard to forget. I thought we were going to die. We almost did. Multiple times." She smiled. "But it was worth it, was it?" Day One looked at the celebration continuing around them. "Sometimes I wonder. We changed their whole civilization. What if we made things worse?" "Look around," Kyungmi said. "Do you see worse?" "I see dragons who laugh, who argue, who create art and music, who have relationships that matter. 50 years ago they were frozen. Now they're alive. But they've lost something too: stability, certainty, order. They've traded order for growth. That's not a loss. That's an evolution." Jinho joined them, moving slowly with a cane. The old ambassador had retired from diplomatic service 20 years ago, but he still visited the Dragon Throne world regularly. "I just received interesting news," he said. "The Galactic Council wants to replicate our model. 3 other ancient civilizations have requested human memory keepers. They want help recovering their forgotten histories." "3?" Daewon raised an eyebrow. "Which ones?" "The Crystalline Collective, the Eternal Chorus, and the Time Weavers. All of them are ancient. All of them achieved some form of immortality, and all of them are starting to realize what they lost in the process. Just like the dragons," Kyungmi said. "Exactly. You started something, Day One. A movement. Other immortal species are beginning to question whether eternal life is worth the cost, and they're looking to humanity for answers." "We don't have answers," Day One protested. "We just have questions." "Maybe that's the answer," Jinho said. "Maybe asking questions is more important than having certainty. Maybe doubt is healthier than faith. Maybe that's humanity's real gift. We never stop questioning, even when the questions are uncomfortable." Bora approached them, looking excited. "Director, you need to see this now." She led them to a viewing platform overlooking the city. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that didn't exist on Earth. And there, descending from the upper atmosphere, was a figure. A dragon. But smaller than most. Her scales were violet and silver, and her flames were gentle, almost warm. She landed in the central plaza, and the crowd parted around her. "Is that?" Kyungmi whispered. "Yes," Daewon said. His voice was thick with emotion. "She's back." Velkareth, or Cathara, or whoever she was now, stood in the center of the plaza. She looked around at the changed world, at the dragons who were no longer frozen, at the humans who had helped them remember. Then she looked up at the viewing platform. Straight at Daewon. For a moment neither of them moved. 50 years of remembrance lay between them. 50 years of recovered memories, processed grief, and slow healing. Then Velkareth smiled. It was a small smile, tentative and a bit uncertain. But it was real. Daewon made his way down to the plaza. His legs protested the stairs, and Hana had to help him, but he made it. The crowd fell silent as he approached the returned queen. Up close, she looked different. Still powerful, still magnificent, but no longer empty. Her eyes held depth now. Pain, yes, but also hope, joy, life. "Hello, Daewon," she said. Her voice was gentler than he remembered. "I see I've been gone for some time. 50 years. For you. For me, it felt like both a day and a lifetime. Time is strange when you're remembering 3,000 years of buried memories. Did you find them? Soral and Vethko? I found their graves. Or what remained of them. 3,000 years is a long time, even for stone." She looked down at her claws. "I mourned properly. For the first time. It hurt more than anything I've ever experienced. But you were right. The pain was better than the emptiness. I'm glad you came back." "I almost didn't." I thought perhaps I should stay in remembrance forever, processing and feeling. But then I realized that would be another kind of hiding, another way to avoid living. So I returned, to see what my people have become, to see what you've helped them become. She looked around at the transformed city, at the dragons who were learning to be individuals, at the humans who had made this possible. You've done well, she said. Better than I could have hoped. The Dragon Imperium is no longer an empire. It's a community. That's a better thing. The council runs everything now, Day-One said. They don't need a queen anymore. Good, I was never meant to be a queen. I was meant to be a historian, a keeper of memories. She looked at him with ancient eyes that somehow seemed young. I would like to join your memory project if you'll have me. I have 3,000 years of experience remembering things that hurt. Perhaps I can help others learn to do the same. Day-One laughed, a sound of pure joy. You want to work for the project? You who once ruled 17 star systems? I ruled because I forgot how to do anything else. Now I remember, and what I remember is that I love history. I love stories. I love preserving the truth even when it's painful. She tilted her head. Besides, I hear you're retiring. Someone will need to take your place. I'm not retiring. I'm stepping back. Then someone will need to step forward. Why not the ancient dragon queen who started all of this by forgetting in the first place? Around them, the crowd began to cheer. Dragons and humans together, celebrating the return of their queen. Not as a ruler, but as a colleague. Pyros approached and bowed. Kethara, welcome home. Thank you, Pyros, though I'm not sure this is home anymore. It's better than home. It's alive. The celebration continued into the night. Day-One found himself sitting with Velkareth on a balcony, watching the city lights. Above them, stars turned in their ancient dance. Will you ever regret it? He asked. Ascension, I mean. Becoming eternal? Velkareth was quiet for a long time. I regret the forgetting. I regret the 3,000 years I spent empty. But the ascension itself? No, because it led to this. To humans coming to our world. To you showing me my pain. To all of us learning to live again. If I had remained mortal, I would have died thousands of years ago. And none of this would have happened. So the suffering was worth it? I don't know if suffering is ever worth it. But I know that we can make meaning from suffering. We can grow from pain. And that's what you taught me. That's what humanity taught all of us. She looked at him with eyes that had seen empires rise and fall. You will die soon. Your mortal body is failing. Does that frighten you? Sometimes, Day-One admitted. But mostly I feel grateful. I got to do something that mattered. I got to help change things for the better. How many people can say that? Not many. In 3 million years of history, very few individuals have changed the course of civilizations. You are one of them. I just asked questions. The best revolutionaries usually do. They sat in comfortable silence watching the stars, an old human and an ancient dragon, connected by memory and understanding. Finally, Velkareth spoke again. When your time comes, I will remember you. I will tell your story to anyone who will listen. I will make sure future generations know about the mortal who taught immortals how to feel. That is my promise to you. Thank you, Day-One said. That means more than you know. I know exactly what it means, because you taught me the value of memory, of carrying those we love with us, of refusing to forget even when it hurts. Years later, when Day-One finally did pass away, surrounded by friends and colleagues, his last words were in Old Draconic. Even the oldest star was once young. And Velkareth kept her promise. She told his story. She preserved his memory. She made sure that every dragon, every human, every being in the Imperium knew about the mortal who changed everything by simply caring enough to remember. The Imperial Memory Project continued long after Day-One's death, growing and expanding. Humans went to other worlds, other ancient civilizations, helping them recover what they had forgotten. And everywhere they went, they carried Day-One's lesson. That memory matters, that pain has purpose, and that even brief lives can echo through eternity. In the central plaza of the Dragon Throne world, they built a memorial. It showed 2 figures, an old human holding a crystal and a dragon watching with newly remembering eyes. Beneath it, an inscription in Old Draconic and human languages. He taught us that forgetting does not heal. Only remembering can do that. And in remembering, we learn to live again. Velkareth visited the memorial every year. Sometimes she came alone. Sometimes she brought students. Always she spoke the same words. This was day one. He was mortal. He was brief. He was everything that mattered. And in saying his name and telling his story, she proved the truth he had shown her so long ago. That the value of a life is not measured in years, but in the memories it creates and the changes it makes. Even the oldest star was once young. Even the briefest flame can light the darkness. Even one mortal can teach immortals how to feel. This is how humanity became known throughout the galaxy, not as warriors or conquerors, but as the keepers of memory, the species that refused to forget. The people who helped others remember what it meant to be alive. And it all started with one man who dared to speak a forbidden name to a dragon queen who had forgotten how to cry.